Welcome to Playing the Field. Joining me today is Gina Sirico from KABC. Ryan is not here, but we have a very special guest, Parisa from The Bachelor. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course. So I guess my first question would be, what was it like night one? You're rolling up to Bachelor Mansion. What was going through your mind, and what did you think when you saw Grant?
Yeah, I was beyond nervous. I can't even find the right word to explain how nervous I was. And just it felt so surreal, especially to like growing up and watching the show and like watching it from behind a screen. And then when you're finally there and you're stepping out of the limo and you're looking at the mansion and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is so real. I'm here. It didn't feel real at all. I actually remember too, I kept pinching myself because I'm like, can I feel this? It was, yeah, so surreal. And then walking up to Grant and finally seeing him there right in front of me. Like that, I have before that moment, I was spending so much time, like months preparing. Okay, like how am I going to introduce myself? What's the best way to be memorable? What should I say? And like, do I go in for a hug immediately or do I grab his hands? Like, there's just so many things because you just want to make sure you do everything right. And so, yeah, I was so nervous. I actually, I when I watched the premiere, it was funny because I'm like, well, I don't remember that. I don't remember saying that. I don't remember doing that. Because you black out. Because, but yeah, no, it was great. It was like, yeah, it was wonderful.
I think one of the things that I was like, oh my God, this is adorable, was the PowerPoint. Um, were you inspired by I said it on our podcast immediately. It reminded me of Andy in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days when she like made the book. Was that your inspiration?
It definitely was like in the back of my mind, but like with me, I love PowerPoints in general, and I have this thing with my friends. Like we always have game night every now and then, but once a month we do try to have a night where we just present PowerPoints to each other with like little updates of our lives and like screenshots of conversations with someone we're dating or pictures, or we make it so like fun and entertaining. And I was thinking, I'm like, well, this is like a part of me. And I think this is a great way to introduce myself and like talk about who I am and, um, just like little life details. But the cherry on top was adding in those AI pictures. And that's another thing I love. Like, I love AI. And I had the time of my life making those pictures of us, like choosing the wedding pictures and my wedding dress, his bow tie, I mean, everything in the background, and then the family pictures. I mean, it was just so much fun. And that to me too, like I love being funny. I think that's like hilarious. And it's also very memorable. Someone introducing themselves that night, but like having fun with it and showing you like what your future could look like, and so it was just so funny.
Absolutely.
So I heard something before. Are you home with pets right now in the background, or was that someone's office?
Oh, is it loud?
Not that loud, but I definitely heard somebody. I think.
Oh no, yeah, I'm in my office right now at my clinic I work at, and we have
Gotcha.
some loud kids, but now I feel like
Oh, I was like,
You're
is
all
that
good.
a cat?
no,
No,
oh
you're all
no,
good. You're all good.
my cat Sonny's at home. He's waiting for me.
Was your cat so happy to see you when you returned? I know you mentioned him right as you were leaving.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So when I got home, before so dropped off my cat with my parents, and they were watching him, and it was so funny when I first dropped him off because I live in an apartment right now, and that's all he's used to. When I brought him to their house, he's like, "Oh my gosh, like what is this kingdom?" And I knew he was in good hands. And so when I got home, I expected him to run to me, but he kind of gave me the cold shoulder and was hesitant. And that definitely hit me. I felt terrible. I'm like, oh,
Trainer.
yeah. But after like I sat down and he was sniffing me, then he was all over me. And it was a great reunion.
I loved your TikTok on your way home when you were talking about being dumped and, did I talk too much? I'm going to spend the next 2 hours on this or 10 hours on this plane, thinking about how I talked about rocks and my cat and all of these things. But what I thought was so funny about it is that, like, you were just being you. And I feel like Jen and I talk about it all the time. We've been watching the show a long time. We've been covering this show a long time. And that's kind of the whole point of the show, is to be you. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I love the fact that you were just you. It's like, this is who I am. Like, you talked a little earlier about like what the right moves are and this and that, but I do feel like you kind of did it right, where you're like, this is me.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I definitely like going into this experience, I told myself from day one, I want to be my authentic self. And I know I have a lot of different interests and um I wanted to make sure that I showed all of that and I was being me like the whole time. I remember night one actually, it was really it was nerve-wracking because you have all these beautiful girls coming together and we're all meeting each other for the first time. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, like we're going to be, very proper and, be cognizant of how many sips we take of our champagne. And I remember too, when Alex brought in the llama, I was ecstatic because I love animals. I'm like, oh my God, I need to touch the llama. I need to be next to the llama. But then I was telling myself, okay, they're just meeting me for the first time. I can't come off like that. I need to be very chill and, I need to collect myself. So then I was just like acting like, oh, the llama, nice, but deep down, I'm like, I need to pet that llama. So like, but it was like after that, then, the next day I slowly started, talking about like my interest and everything. And it was just so nice. Everyone was so welcoming and they were, like people were asking me questions of like nature questions or rock questions. And I'm like, oh, yay. Like it was reinforcing to like get that feedback from everyone.
Did you feel like Grant was embracing who you were and like he gave you the rocks in Spain? So like did you feel like you were going to get a rose that night and that things were going in the right direction? Like did you feel very shocked by how it had turned out?
Yeah, I was shocked in the moment, especially too. He did the whole time. There were so many moments too that it wasn't shown. But before that, like a week earlier, I was talking about all the lizards at the mansion, and I'm like, it's kind of fun, like trying to catch the lizards. Like that's something like we don't have lizards in Michigan. So when I ever go to like South Carolina or Florida, I'm like, oh, lizards, like let's catch one. I was telling him that, and he was like, oh my gosh, like like I used to do that too, and um, he was like joking about it and and he would ask me like just questions where it showed me that he was engaged and he was curious to know more about me and my interests. So like that the whole time, like it was really nice and really refreshing. But yeah, that night I was so calm the whole night of that rose ceremony because I felt so reassured and I'm like, yay, like another rose ceremony. Like, I felt so good. And then when that happened, I was just like, I was very surprised. But I will say, like looking back at everything and, anytime a relationship ends or, like I like to take time to reflect on it and I like to look at both sides. Like, what could I have done more of? What could I have said in that moment? Or what did I do too much of? And I just like to reflect. And looking back, I do understand now why going home. Like, of course, you know, you don't have that much time with Grant and you need to make the best out of that, moment you have with him. And so that requires you planning before going into like a one-on-one, like when you grab them during like, cocktail hour, you want to plan on what you're going to talk to or talk about with him. So, because you don't want to just like grab them and then be like, oh, hey, how's it going? How's your day going? You want to know, like, do I talk about my family? Do I talk about my career or the future I want? Like, you want to bring something to that conversation. And that week, I will say, I think I didn't plan as well for our conversations. I became distracted that week, and I saw my attention was drifting elsewhere. And so we had one last time together before the rose ceremony, and I remember my headspace, like I wasn't there, and we talked about some, things about our careers in the future, and then I didn't have anything else to talk about because I just wasn't there. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so it makes sense because also too, I mean, he's having great conversations with other girls, and it's so hard at these rose ceremonies. Sorry, I'm just like rambling on and on.
No. I mean, I get it though. You just traveled like a far distance. You're out of your element again, and then you're like put to the test yet again.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, no, I again, I understand. Like the last conversation we had, and that night before the rose ceremony, I'm sure he had to go back and forth with making decisions, and it takes one conversation, that makes it or breaks it, where then he's like, oh, I'm further along with this person compared to this other, woman, and tough decisions are made.
Yeah. It's funny because he said that in his conversation with Zoe just this past week, where it was like just one conversation can kind of change the trajectory, and that happened with her.
Yeah.
So I get where you're coming from, and you were spot on in that, where it's like, like, yeah, okay, it could be just one thing in one chat that can really make or break.
Yeah.
And I get your point of like, the time is so precious. Because it really is. You don't have a lot of time. That particular point is something that has been talked about a lot with these women, throughout, with everyone throughout the time. In particular, Carolina, where she was talking about how I don't have this much time, et cetera. And, talk to me about, from your vantage point, you obviously weren't there for this last blowout, but during the time that you were there, just kind of talk to me about the kind of feeling in the house among the other girls when you were hearing, Carolina complain about, well, maybe I shouldn't have gotten a one-on-one date, if it was not going to be whatever, she's going to go on one-on-ones with other people. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. It definitely, it was tough, and I guess everyone, like with us girls, we, in the way beginning too, like the journey, we are all talking about our experiences, and we're sharing everything with each other. And when we do that, we all definitely know, like, it's a read the room type of thing. And so I, if I know I just had the best conversation with Grant, and then also I'm like overhearing that maybe another girl didn't just have the best time with him, and they're now in their mind second guessing everything and spiraling, I'm probably will not be talking about my experience around that girl. Like, you don't want to make anything worse. And we all know what that feeling feels like too. And it's like, you don't want to add into that. So for the most part, it felt like everyone understood those, social rules that aren't always spoken about, but it was understood, that, read the room kind of thing. And everything, it just seemed like everything was fine until, when Carolina was experiencing what she was experiencing, and her doubts, which of course, like, all of that is valid, like, this is her journey as well. But it turned into a thing where it's like, okay, let's read the room. Let's, if we need to talk to someone, let's pull aside someone who just had a one-on-one at that point, and go talk to that girl. If maybe we can ask her if she's experiencing the same things as you, like maybe you guys can relate to each other and talk through it. So it's just like little tiny choices like those, of like choosing who you speak to, where you're talking about, your date, or other girls around who haven't received a one-on-one, or can they hear you? So just like little things like that, I feel like it adds up over time when these things aren't considered, and it can, kind of build or snowball into a big snowball of negativity. But again, I feel like looking back at everything, this experience was just so unconventional, and none of us have ever experienced such a thing like this before. Like none of us have ever been on The Bachelor, or we're all new to it. So of course mistakes will be made. And I feel like, I mean, me personally, I don't like to judge people off of mistakes that are made, but I'm more like, I'm looking at now like, okay, what are we doing to come back from this? Like, how are we going to make amends or rectify this, this issue? And that's kind of like more how I look at things. Like, okay, now what? Like, what are you going to do now? Kind of thing.
So there's been some chatter back and forth on social media between Dina and Carolina. And I guess, are you team Dina, team Carolina? Are you just like, okay, let's just stay out of this? Or how do you feel about it all?
Definitely stay out of this. That was my approach the whole season. I'm sure.
Team Switzerland.
Yeah. I'm sure you saw me. I never opened my mouth during any like dramatic, back and forth. In fact, like there were some scenes I feel like I was sitting like in the middle, and like it looked like I was watching a tennis match of like, the girls going back and forth. I didn't come for that. And I'm not someone who, and I don't like drama like that, but I am like, I want to be a voice of reason when I can be. And anytime I can, like if I see an opportunity where speaking up will be helpful, I will speak up. But there were many times where it just felt like people just wanted to vent and they weren't looking to compromise or looking for a solution. And I'm like, well, there's just no point to speak up then, because it's going to be a dead end. But yeah, definitely I look at it as just a way sometimes people just they're expressing themselves.
Especially with a show like this, hindsight's 2020. So when you're watching back and you're seeing how things have played out, and now you've seen kind of the consequences of people's actions. I mean, your job is behavioral, you analyze behaviors.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's with kids, but it's also like, but you kind of understand the human brain a little bit and like how people behave. Are you kind of watching and analyzing now and being like, maybe I should have, like seen this in the moment, like some of the other girls, even with your own, behaviors and with, what you were doing there. Are you watching with that analytic eye?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Like in behavior analysis, we always want to understand first the function of someone's behavior, like the why. Why are they doing that? And then from there, we're able to understand that person's motives, and then we know how to approach it now. If someone was doing something for attention, like seeking reasons, then if I know that and I understand that, then I know my approach can help. Like, okay, it looks like you were looking to get this person's attention, but maybe not in the best way. Maybe try these techniques if you want to get their attention. Maybe this is a more appropriate way, or you might find more success doing it this way. But again, it's like I love talking about, these things with people and like helping people work through thoughts and emotions before it turns into actions and behavior. And I mean, I love it so much, but again, like it only works when the other person is engaged and accepting and like they want to talk through it and they are looking for solutions or just alternatives. But again, if you have someone who's just so closed off and, not receptive, then it's just like, there's just no point really. And then you might also, I don't know, then you're just getting yourself involved in something that there's just no like positive outcome.
So do you think there are people, I won't mention names. Maybe I will mention names. Do you think there are people who were doing that and were so closed off that they didn't want to?
I definitely, yeah, there were moments too, just I mean with like a couple girls, there were moments where I would interject myself in a conversation and then immediately I would get shut down with, oh no, but you don't get it. But it was just like, well, I know I'm not saying I get it. I'm just trying to help right now. But I'm like, I see though, we're not in that mind space right now to talk through it. So it's just like, okay, that's when I like just move back. But yeah, but again, like I am not judging anyone during that time because it's like we all express ourselves in such different ways. And again, this is a new experience for all of us. And we're definitely all going to be making mistakes. Like I made mistakes too. Like this was all brand new, but like it's just about the reflection and, moving forward in the right direction.
So we're running out of time here, but real quick, would you ever want to be on Paradise? And of who's left, who do you think is right for Grant?
So with Paradise, I would love the opportunity to be invited. Especially just again, watching the past seasons, like you see a lot of people, like a lot of couples end up staying together after Paradise.
That's true.
I'm not getting any younger, and I just want my best friend. I always say, like, I just want someone to stay young with. Like, I'm just looking for my best friend. And if that's another opportunity that I'm blessed with, I will love to, join that journey. And then, yeah, that second question with Grant. It's hard because, of course, too, like, all the time there's always like little side conversations of girls talking where we're like, oh, like who do you think, like do you think like who's going to get the rose tonight and all this, and it's so hard because we aren't able to see those private conversations that all the girls are having with Grant. And so it's been so much fun watching every Monday because I'm like, wow, like that's what they were talking about when this was going on and that's what they were doing. And because during this whole time we had no idea, we can't, see or hear everything. But it's hard. I don't know. It's just so hard to tell just because of, again, knowing too, not everything is shown on all these episodes. Like they're taking 1 week of footage that, from cameras rolling 24/7 and they're condensing into this like 1 hour and 20-minute episode. So it's a lot is missed, but, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, Parisa.
It was so much fun to chat with you. Thank you very much. And for everyone watching and listening, please be sure to like and follow, and we will continue to chat about this season of The Bachelor on Playing the Field.